1. Ford Capri Piranha. If you know anything about Ford's European lineup during the 1960s and 1970s, then you've probably heard of the Ford Capri. It was often called Europe's version of the Mustang. The idea was simple: give people an affordable, sporty coupe that looked exciting, handled well, and came with a range of fun engines. And for the European market, the Capri did that job perfectly. But there was one thing missing. Europeans never officially got a V8 Capri from the factory. That kind of power was reserved for Americans and their Mustangs. However, that wasn't the case everywhere in the world. Because if you lived in South Africa, there was a very special version of the Capri that came with the same 5-liter V8 that Americans were enjoying in the Mustang. This car was called the Ford Capri Piranha, and it existed thanks to a company called Basil Green Motors. Basil Green Motors was based in Edenville, near Johannesburg, and at the time, they were heavily involved in motorsport. They were known for racing Fords in South African racing series, and they became incredibly good at modifying and preparing Ford engines for competition. Engine performance was their specialty, and they knew exactly how to make a fast Ford even faster. The Capri Piranha actually started out with the Essex V6 engine, which was a decent performer, but then Ford decided to make that V6 a standard engine option in the Capri anyway. So Basil Green Motors needed something bigger, something more exciting, something that would turn the Capri into a true performance monster. So they came up with a crazy idea. They took the Windsor 5-liter V8 from the Ford Mustang and installed it into the Capri, and the result completely transformed the car. In the Capri Piranha, that V8 produced around 281 brake horsepower and about 300 pound-feet of torque. That is a massive amount of power for a small European coupe from that era. Buyers could choose between a 4-speed Ford top-loader manual transmission or a 3-speed Ford C4 automatic transmission. Either way, the Capri Piranha was fast, loud, and completely different from the Capris sold in Europe. Today, the Ford Capri Piranha is an extremely desirable car, and it's not hard to understand why. It's rare, it's unique, and it represents one of the coolest collaborations in Ford history. It's a perfect example of what happens when the European and American sides of Ford come together, with a little help from a small but very talented company in South Africa. Number 2, Ford Falcon GT-XB. If you know anything about Australian muscle cars, then the Ford Falcon GT-XB is a car that really needs no introduction. And even if you don't know Australian cars, there's a good chance you've still seen this car before, especially if you're a fan of a certain post-apocalyptic movie franchise. The Falcon XB GT was a true Australian performance car, built by Ford Australia and designed specifically for Australian roads and Australian drivers. Under the hood was a 5.8-liter Cleveland V8 engine producing around 300 brake horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. All that power was sent to the rear wheels through either a 4-speed manual transmission or a 3-speed automatic, but what really made this car famous around the world was its appearance in the movie Mad Max and its sequel. The black Interceptor car driven by Max became one of the most iconic movie cars of all time, and that car was based on the Falcon XB. Because of those movies, the Falcon suddenly became famous far outside Australia, and its popularity and value went way up. There's also another reason this car is well known, especially in Australia. Actor Eric Bana has owned a Falcon GT since he was very young. Basically, since he was old enough to drive, he has kept that car for decades, and he often says it's his most prized possession. That tells you a lot about how special these cars are to the people who grew up around them. The Falcon XB GT wasn't just a fast car, it became a cultural icon, both because of movies and because of what it represented: Australian muscle at its absolute peak.